Inside of today's video, we're going to be taking a look at 6 reworks that I think could... 6 brawlers that I believe need some type of rework inside of Brawl Stars because they just plain and simple suck right now, or they're just really underused. So of course they could do with a bit of a rework. I did balance changes not too long ago and now rework. So it's going to be a little bit of a hybrid, going through some Reddit posts, taking a look at what the community has to offer in terms of really good reworks, and then of course I'll give you guys my alternatives. So let's take a look at a couple. So Daryl rework idea by mean responsibility. Let's take a look. So super will be 1 tile longer each time he bounces. That is pretty interesting because I do love the fact that you can get so much value out of Daryl's super, being able to bounce a lot. Still hoops would be removed. Okay, I vibe with this one. Spice's barrel. Daryl would heal 400 HP with every tile he rolls with his super. So this would tie in really well with just his super in general. Again, I don't know whether this super is a little bit too, I don't know, confusing for like the general player base, but it is a good idea. Recalling rotator would be removed. Okay, I kind of like this gadget, but it is very inaccurate. It's not that strong whatsoever. Tall barrel will be 10% bigger. Okay, this is looking like a good rework. Abandoned ship, the next super would be 100% faster. Okay, this is actually really good rework. This guy kind of cooks so far. Okay, mythic gear, steel barrel, damage reduction during the super will be 10% higher. Okay, again, another great idea. The Reddit are cooking at the moment. The hypercharge, of course, self-explanatory. And then the hypercharge, Daryl's super would now drop a fire trail behind that would last 15 seconds. And the enemy who hit... Okay, that is maybe a bit too long. 15 seconds of aerial denial is a bit too much, but... Okay, this is a pretty decent one. You got to give it to him. Okay, so the final Reddit post we're going to take a look at for Daryl. So Daryl kit rework. This could be a rework that Daryl needs, in my opinion. And I've always said that his gadgets and star powers are really lackluster. So let's take a look. Still hoops now lasts for 3 seconds from 2 seconds. Okay, I can vibe with it. Recall and rotator have been removed. Another one. Tall barrel has been removed. And rolling reload has been... To be honest, they can remove all of his star powers and gadgets. That would be a good way to go. So that's what basically this guy has done, not clash. Emergency rations. Daryl throws down a slice of salted meat, healing an ally that picks it up for 33% of their base health. Daryl cannot use this. Okay. That's all right, but then Daryl doesn't really benefit off it. The long 9, Daryl next attack shoots out a long range cannonball that deals and slows enemies. That would be really fun. Kind of like Shelly's clay pigeon. And of course, Daryl really sucks in range, so that would give him more of a chance to fight longer range opponents. Okay, the new star power downhill. Daryl's barrel roll now goes 37% further and deals 200 damage. Okay, so... that's not too bad. Increasing the length of the roll would actually be a good star power. And then of course the hypercharge. So I think Reddit kind of cooked. Okay, so now let's go into some of the things that I would like to see with Daryl improved in the future. So Daryl, for a long time I've always said that he does need a rework, but I think he needs some love to his star powers and gadgets. Whenever I do my best build video, I say that his star powers and gadgets are pretty much useless. Like, I wouldn't even bother buying any of them. I would just hope to get some of them from like a chest or something. Well, not a chest, star drop or something. So yeah, they should definitely be looking at reworking his gadgets, star power, literally all of them. I would remove all of them, maybe except for steel hoops, because maybe adding that as base kit would be a bit too broken. But Daryl has been needing its love for a long time, so why not give it him? Just give him some love in terms of that stage. Or if they don't want to do that for whatever reason, again, they need to look at his gadgets and star powers and do some type of buff. They should definitely look at something to do with his super. So if you guys remember back in beta, of course, Daryl's roll was really long. But now, as an assassin, I don't think his roll is actually that good. You think of all of these new characters in the game, their assassin capabilities are just way better. So what does Daryl actually do? I don't know. So make his roll a little bit longer. I'm not talking like a massive amount longer, but just a little bit longer. Just so, for example, like the ways I used to use Daryl in competitive, or on maps like Safe Zone, where you could go across the water and get some good, like, value. Also, like Canal Grande, for example. Again, being able to roll a decent amount is a good way to surprise the opponents. I would actually like this. Or you could maybe add a stun, but I don't really like that idea, mainly because adding a stun, it doesn't fix everything, right? There's probably too many stun abilities inside of Brawl Stars, right? Oh, I thought I had the tall barrel gadget then. Again, like I would personally change all of his gadgets and star powers I don't know what to. I think a lot of people did cook on that Reddit review though. But yeah, and they could increase how long he rolls for. So you can see the potential with Daryl. Like if you can chain supers, you can get some nasty team wipes and do some great plays, but it's always too far and in between. Let's see if we can get a goal here. Beautiful. So Daryl, I think once he gets some love, he'll be a really strong brawler. He used to be one of the best brawlers in the game a couple of years ago, but he definitely needs a little bit of a rework. Let's jump into the next one. Okay, so now we're moving over to Reddit and taking a look at some of the Doug reworks. Of course, Doug is a brawler which everyone has been crying out for a rework. So we're getting, this is a lot of, I think, stuff he probably spoke about before in the past. So let's take a look at this. Keep Doug aggressive and supportive gadget, force utility-based star power. So first off, Doug gets the tank trait added to super when attacked. Okay, that makes sense. Secondly, okay, that's another Reddit post saying that the self-service star power needs to be baseline. That makes sense. I would kind of see that because, you know, he needs a little bit of healing, but then at the same time, do all the other healers get that? I mean, they kind of get it, but with gadgets and everything else, could make it work. Instead of being a knock-off Jackie attack, Doug will be able to aim with his attack up to one tile ahead. Okay, so it functions similar to Surge's super. Okay, I don't know how that rework. I kind of want to visualize that. Attack and super changes. Supercharge rate nerfed. Super now no longer gives the user an extra ammo after respawning. I mean, I could see some nerfs to the buffs that were implemented, if you get what I mean. Like, you know how they buffed a lot how the super can now like reload ammo and other things like that. If there was some do a rework to Doug, they probably would need to nerf him in those type of ways again. Now also the user 10% of max HP heals the user on respawning. Okay, self-service hot dog for you. Doug recharges 20% supercharge if he lands his super on a teammate. Yeah, I don't know how I really feel about that. That could be way too toxic. So yeah, I don't know if Reddit is cooking right now. And now on to the final Reddit post about Doug. So essentially, Physical Sprinkles is making Doug from a worse Jackie to a worse BB or Poco. But I don't know, something with his attack being changed. I don't know whether it's like worth it, because he's always going to be compared to another brawler in that sense. There's only so much you can do inside of Brawl Stars, but I do like the idea that Doug can charge his super by hitting his teammates for sure, and of course some changes to his star powers and gadgets would be nice. But let's take a look at what I would want. So now moving on to what I would actually like to see with Doug, and to me I think it's quite simple, mainly because Doug is pretty uninspired. Okay, I know I'm going to get destroyed in this game, by the way. I don't expect for me to even get close to the opponents, but for me, I'd like to see one of two things. Either a healing trait, just like Berry, or a tank trait. He needs one of the other. And again, just because of how, like, overtuned maybe his super could be, they probably could look at nerfing that afterwards, but he definitely needs a way in helping to get his super right. Like, that is definitely something that we can't, like, sugarcoat. He's just terrible. He can never get close to people whatsoever. Again, another way that we could buff him is by looking at his kit overall. Again, just like Daryl, I think his like star power gadgets are a little bit uninspiring. Like, there needs something to help him get close to the opponents, right? Like, I'm not asking for like a Jackie speed up or something, but just something inspiring, like double the damage. Yeah, that's all good. But how are you supposed to get close to the people to even activate your gadget in time? That is what I'm talking about. And of course, just like staying behind your teammates isn't really going to do the most with Doug. And I mean, I don't expect to do anything here. We're against Clancy, we're against Nita. What can you even do? So again, add tank trait or add healing trait, one of his traits, and see where he lands. And then we can go from there. Maybe then after that, they can change his kit and everything else. But there's just no point even trying to win a game with Doug, because it's impossible. Unless you've got the right composition, there's no way he's going to work, or there's a bunch of grass. Again, I'm just going to get deleted by it. Like, look at this. Like, everyone just deletes him. There's nothing you can do. Doug just plain and simple sucks, and he has since his release, so I'm hoping there's going to be a rework for him soon. Now let's take a look at some ideas with Lola's rework. So if you guys are unaware, since release, Lola has been pretty much the least played brawler inside of a game, or one of them, even though, like, for the most part until now recently, she's been one of the better brawlers in the game, always consistently like B tier, A tier, always played a lot in pro play. But now probably is the time to look at a rework for Lola. So there's something obviously uninteresting about her kit. I think ever since they changed Lola, so it does like I think it's half the damage whenever you're in that small proximity. I think it's just made Lola way too boring. So why does Lola need a rework? Yeah, unpopular. She has interesting mechanics, but yeah, doesn't even allow her to shine. So let's take a look. So ego's damage near Lola reduced by 50%. Okay, and then ego damage away from Lola increased by 50%. Okay, that's pretty good, because I think the idea of why they even nerfed Lola's ego positioning in the past was because it used to shred too much. So of course, like having two people that can just shred next to each other with the ego is just way too much. That's why they nerfed it. So at least like they tried to encourage people to throw Lola's super away from her a little bit more, but it just hasn't been a case because it's too vulnerable when you throw it out, etc. So at least an extra 50% that could shred, but it is really hard to hit shots onto people when you throw that ego. So I kind of like that. The hypercharge, Lola struggles in maps with a lot of walls, so might help her overcome it. Lola's hypercharge ego will be able to shoot through walls. Okay, that is, I mean, it is for 5 seconds, but that's a bit too broken. I don't really like mechanics like that. Star power, sealed with a kiss, star power removed. Even though I really like that star power, let's just take a look anyway. The star power has always been encouraged, placing ego on top of Lola. True. New star power, same charm. Lola's super has the same amount of HP as Lola. Okay, that could be really interesting. Maybe a bit too strong, but maybe like a buffed up ego instead. Maybe like an extra 1800 HP or something. That could be pretty interesting. And then other changes, aiming reticle for the ego. Okay, reload gear is now applied to the ego too. Yeah, that was a little bit of a glitch as well. And ego has the same speed as Lola. So these are some good reworks. Custom. Okay, that's pretty cool as well. So you know what? This person really cooked, and I would like to see a lot of these changes. Okay, so let's talk about things and ways I would like for Lola to get a rework or improve. So I think that Reddit post pretty much summed up everything for me. Like, I think it was perfect. I think with Lola, I think some brawlers are just always, like, they're not going to be as liked as others. Like, there's got to be someone at the bottom of the pile, right? But I still think Lola has deserved some type of, like, rework or a little bit of love, because I think the way that you play Lola is fundamentally boring. Like, you always place your ego behind you. You never, like, look to try and make any good plays with her, because, you know, your ego's just going to get melted straight away. So maybe a rework in that case. You know, I really like the extra damage one, because, again, that was why Lola was so fun in the past. Like, being able to just shred through everyone with your ego. Maybe, again, it could be very similar to Meg, where she keeps getting, like, these damage buffs and nerfs. Like, it's not going to change her fundamentally, but I'd just like them to try something, like, with a star power, with her ego. Like, just try something with Lola. She's always been underappreciated, and I actually don't mind playing her too much. I think that she can be so satisfying when you just shred through people. Come on, Frank. Use your hypercharge. I can heal you up. Like, look at this. Like, the fact that you can be a damage dealer, but then also heal up your teammates with the ego. It is pretty underrated. And that's why I probably won't want to see Sealed with a Kiss reworks, because I do actually enjoy this one. But then it kind of promotes just always using your ego in the same way, right? And that's a big problem with Lola. There's just no way of changing. There's no way of adapting. There's no fun ways about her. It's always the same every single time. And it looks like we're getting wrecked now. That Gale super just sent me to Narnia and sent my clone to Narnia. And it looks like we're going to lose. But it is Lola, right? She's not really the best in the meta. And what can you even do? So yeah, that's going to be my thoughts on Lola. And hopefully something different happens. And the next brawler we're going to be taking a look at is Brawl. So we've already discussed this, I think, in the past and countless times. But the way to rework Brawl is literally by 100 of Reddit posts that I've seen. Is by making his stomper baseline. The problem with Bull has always been to do with his super, so another post here just kind of reiterating that he's so reliant on the stomper gadget, and that's very true. So with Bull, I think it is pretty simple. I think it literally is the fact that you just need to make his stomper gadget baseline. So the reason why I'm talking about reworks, I didn't even explain it earlier, was because of reworks like Frank, for example, where it's just brought a brawler to the limelight, and I'm just unsure why we've not seen any love to our boy Bull. Like, Bull has big potential, very big potential, but The problem has always been with Brawl that his super, it's just been lost with the times. His super used to be very intimidating. I remember back in beta days, but when was that? Like 7 years ago now? Like there's obviously going to be so many brawlers, gadgets, gears, etc. that just counter Brawl way too hard. And without his Stomper gadget, he's terrible. It's so easy to predict. I mean, maybe his super could just literally need like a speed buff or something to help him out. He just needs something, right? I think the Stomper would be the first way to go, and then see where the balancing goes. Start about. So we're going to wait for, I was going to wait for the Frank to respawn here. We're going to pop Hypercharge, Stomper, and just try and delete these guys. Get as much value out of our Hypercharge. Do manage to get a bit of damage and a kill onto the Rico. But again, it's so clear that I won't be able to do anything, especially once my Stomper gadget runs out. And I kind of feel bad for Brawl because he's always been stuck in the heist meta. And then as you guys probably know now, the heist meta is just full of hypercharges, so Brawl can't even thrive in the heist meta, and that was always the one place where he could always confine in and know Brawl was meta. I mean, what on earth are these dynamics? I'm having a mid-off, but yeah, I've run out of Stomper gadgets, and now I'm pretty terrible, unless I can bully my boy Frank. So let's just go over to the Frank, try and farm more super from him. We're close to our next super, actually. We might be able to score this. So yeah, Brawl, I think he's been needing this for a while, right? Like nearly 2 years. And even with the hypercharge, which, you know, I thought, remember when the hypercharge animation came out, I thought, well, Brawl, he's going to be such a fun, like, insane brawler now. Are we going to rework him? Are we going to do all of these things? But we just added a hypercharge, and the hypercharge, I don't think, really fixed the biggest of issues. Like, it's a good hypercharge, but it didn't really do that in the long term. So 15 seconds left, pop hypercharge. Let's just run all over these guys, just spam things. I mean, just look at the potential with Brawl. We're going crazy right now. Is this Pika? I'm Pika, bro. I'm Pika. I don't even know what I already did that, but Brawl, he needs a rework. Give him some love. Let's hop into the next one. Okay, so jumping into the final 2 changes. I actually couldn't find any Reddit posts about either of these brawlers, but I think it's interesting. I think we could do with a bit of a rework to Willow and Ash, because both of these brawlers have been very unloved. Again, there's going to be some brawlers that will always be near the bottom. Of course, that's just normal in games, especially when Brawl Stars has like 80 brawlers. But Willow, since her release, has been uninteresting. So I know her base just attack was always like straight away when sneak peeks came out, people were like, oh, well, it's just a barley that deals poison over time. And that is true, but I still think there could be ways to rework Willow to make her more interesting. I think the first one has to be with a super, right? Like, I know there's so many bugs and that they need to fix to, you know, before they buff like this, for example. But like, look at this. Why is the projectile so small? I know it's such a strong super, but there's loads of strong supers in Brawl Stars. You can barely hit 1 super a game. And then, of course, the duration isn't even that long. And the super is quite overrated. Like, I remember thinking, like, oh, this is such a broken mechanic. This is going to break Brawl Stars. And it literally did nothing. So they should probably look at buffing this. And then also, I think they should, again, probably change her star powers. Both her star powers, I mean, they kind of make sense, but at the same time, they don't really. Like, they don't really complement her kit too much. One of the star powers about slowing the reload speed of the enemy. Like, it sounds good, but it's just so uninteresting and so hard to actually see the value. So, like, why is that even a thing? So Willow probably needs those changes. And then moving on to Ash. Ash is a really hard one because in the right hands, he can absolutely melt. Like in competitive, for example, he's always been a super strong brawler. But in casuals hands, he's always been really underappreciated in that sense. But again, is he just a trash brawler and super uninteresting? I think he is, because I think the rage takes too long to get. I would say that his rotten banana gadget needs a rework, in my opinion. Maybe that would spruce some life into him. I would actually like to see a gadget make him go fully rage for like, even if it's like 3 seconds. I think this would be like pretty fun, because again, the problem with Ash is that too many people find it so boring because it takes so long for him to ramp up. You need to combine his rats with his gadget and well timing, etc, etc. But I think maybe just making like a brainless gadget like that, you know, just making fully speed up straight away, that might make it so he's more appealing to the general audience. So now we're about to get super. We're in a good position here. Squeak spamming out all of his shots, and this should be a pretty easy walk-in or just a goal for our lobster guys. So that's going to be it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what reworks you would like to see in the future. Again, I don't really think any of these are going to come anytime soon. Maybe if I was to predict one, I'd be hoping Daryl receives a rework, seeing as he's absolutely unusable right now. Yeah, that's going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.